Today on Marilyn, Scott McGilvery co-hosts the full show. Find out how to stay behind budget on your home renos. Then, penny for your thoughts. Scott's getting hands-on with a DIY taken from his own home. Plus, superstar chef Anthony Bourdain is here, covering everything from how to make an easy ratatouille to what it's like sharing a meal with President Obama.
The Secret Service were not thrilled with the choice of venue, I can tell you. It was not an ideal situation.
And Charles the Butler and Marilyn are testing Scott to see if his hosting skills are up to snuff.
You're not that big of a jerk. It's okay.
All this and more starts right now. And now, here she is, Marilyn Denis.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Welcome. We've got a fantastic show. I'm going to introduce him in a minute. We've got Charles the Butler. We've got Anthony Bourdain. First up today, though, great advice on planning a successful home renovation. Who better than ask Scott McGilvery to be here to come home? They love you.
Frisky group today.
There he is, Scott McGilvery. I know. He's attractive, isn't he? He's a very attractive man. Okay, I'll have to deal with you for that. Can you guys sit down now? You don't have to sit.
Wow.
But that is very respectful to you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How and yourself?
Very good. Did you move into that house? Are we ready for this house?
Well, we're in there.
Yeah.
We're in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's close, and we're still filming. There might not be a last episode if I don't finish soon.
Okay. You're going to show us your dream home very soon, at least a portion of it today,
Yes.
so I'm really looking forward to it. And I was so lucky to go out there and be with you, because it's just spectacular.
You came to visit the new
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
That was a few months ago. It's livable now. When you were there, it wasn't quite livable. We didn't even have plumbing working when she was there. I felt so bad, so I had her install a toilet.
That was my housewarming gift. So here we go. We're going to talk about, the renovations, and it doesn't matter if you're making your dream home or you're just doing a portion of your house or what have you. You got to figure out how much you can actually spend, and that can't be a floating number. You got to stick to the number. So talk to us about your mental state going through this, but what we have to keep in mind.
Well, I'll tell you something first, is that I've answered this question many times before, is how to stay on a budget when you're doing a renovation. And I also have to be honest that I didn't stay on budget when I did my own renovation. So,
Yeah.
I should take my own advice, but...
Where did you go wrong on that? What happened? What overtook?
You know what? Usually I tell people put 20 to 25% aside as extra contingency, above and beyond what you're expecting to pay.
Right.
And I probably went 30 to 35% over, but things that you couldn't even predict. Like, we had a well on the property that we bought, and turns out that the well was compromised and there was groundwater getting in. We had to drill a new well. We had to go down a certain, it's like $20,000 gone right there, right?
Wow.
And so typically, but it's that the lesson there is that typically when you do go over budget, it's not necessarily for things that you wanted, it's for things that you needed.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
the electrical needed updating, the plumbing wasn't good, there were structural issues, there was mold behind the walls. And the issue is that you can't leave these things till later.
No.
Right? When you rip down the walls, that's the time to do the fixes.
So, Scott, will you still allocate that much money, or would you actually a percentage more?
I was doing more of a build from scratch,
Yeah.
but definitely you want to put 20 to 25, or at least prepare to spend that money. And if you don't, that's a huge bonus. You're
Yeah.
probably going to spend it on something fancy anyway. In the end, if you didn't spend it, you're like, well, I put it aside. I might as well spend it on some new furniture.
But that brings me to the second point: is the budget realistic? Is the budget?
Yeah.
And so you got to make sure that there's the not pretty stuff.
And it depends where the budget's coming from as
Right.
well. A lot of people think, okay, it's going to be a $50,000 renovation. I'll take out a $50,000 line of credit. But if it's going to take you 6 months, there's also interest on that line of credit. So you have to factor in the cost of financing as well. Now, fortunately for many young folks, that the cost of they're borrowing from their family or their parents for the most part. But I'll tell you something right now. the cost of financing from family is way more than from the bank.
That is so true.
True.
That is so true. And one other thing I want to add before we talk about this next story is that you should follow along with the spreadsheet for a budget. Just keep on track, right?
Keep track of everything as you go along. When you're working with a contractor, especially, you will have something called a scope of work, which should outline the cost and the scope of everything that's being done. And you want to follow that with a spreadsheet. And then you have something called change of work orders, which sometimes become more than the original scope. But you need to follow these things along because the breakdown between homeowner and contractor happens when there is nothing in writing. That's when the breakdown occurs. It's like, well, I thought you were just going to add that outlet. And the contractor says, well, it was just going to be a few $100s.
It's on paper. It's on paper.
Yeah, put it all down. Track it.
We're watching you. And it's good for you, too, for accountability, just in case you have an argument with your spouse. Scott gave us a tour of his favorite room in his new house. You're going to love it. Watch this.
Hey, we're here on the job site of my new home, still majorly under construction, but I'm super excited. This has been a massive project, and even though we're not completely done, there are some spaces that are finished, and I'm going to show you my favorite one right now. Welcome to my office. This is one of the first rooms completed, and one of the rooms that I'm most excited about. There's a lot going on in here, but what took the most work of all, believe it or not, was the floor. This is a DIY project that my kids and I started working on almost a year ago. My eldest daughter, Maya, said, Daddy, I want to help with the new house. Can I put some money from my piggy bank into the house? And that sparked this idea of teaching the kids how to put money into real estate, and we started collecting pennies. So we laid out all the pennies, decided to do a map. I'm a big fan of maps, and you can see we're standing on North America. Did a really nice epoxy coat on top, so it's very durable. You can walk on here in shoes, it's not gonna scuff it up. There's also a bit of a hidden message in here. Even though we're building a new home, we wanted to have a little bit of family history in here. So I was able to find pennies going back 5 generations, looking at the birth year of members of our family. You'll notice that the pennies look a little different. That's because in the early 1900s and 1800s, pennies were more like loonies. Another feature is this curved wall, which was a little bit of work, but this is, again, a theme that we've brought throughout the house. It's a very geometric home, but I've brought this curve in as a design detail. So in every room, there's some sort of curve, whether it's in a wall, whether it's in a window, whether it's in a ceiling detail. Lots of storage. Love my storage in the office. I'm so excited because I've never had an office before. Some hidden compartments. Wanted to keep it balanced. I got a little printer niche in here. You can open up those pocket doors. Stuff for filing cabinets underneath. A little bit of artwork at the back. And I do have to say, when I'm sitting in here, right, get at my desk. I feel like I'm sitting on top of the world here. But there's still a lot of work to do.
What I like about the location of that office, because I got a sneak peek of it, is it's not in the basement. It's not it's right on the main floor.
Right on the main floor.
Actually, when you come in the front door,
yeah,
right
it's
on
just
that?
off to the right at the front door.
So you're not losing, like, sometimes I think sometimes we put offices that they're so isolated, the world, we're kind of removed from the world.
Depends what kind of work you do,
That's right, I guess so too. How many pennies?
So in that office floor, it was somewhere around 26,000 pennies.
Yeah.
Which sounds expensive, but that's really only $260 when you look at the value in pennies. So cheapest per square foot cost of flooring in the home, but most expensive installation in the entire house.
So you gotta weigh it out, weigh it out.
Weigh it out.
So you're gonna show us how to at least begin our little penny floor.
This was the better part of a month, sort of off and on figuring this thing out, because it's never really been done before in any capacity that I could find enough data. So I did a lot of trial and error, a lot of samples, and this is what I came up with. And first things first, pennies come in all kinds of patinas. You can get brand new pennies, you can get old pennies. The floor in my office is a mix, obviously, of pennies that are from the 1850s all the way up to 2013,
Right.
at least for the Canadian pennies, but the US is all American pennies. So I had some 2016s in there as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was again, it got a little out of hand, it got a little fun, but here was what I was trying to do was get these different patinas.
Yeah.
Right, the ocean was brand new pennies, but then the Great Lakes and some of the other features, I wanted to get, you can see these pennies are all just kind of dark.
Yes.
I was trying to clean them, and if you go online, there's all kinds of different ways to clean them. Put them in Coke, put them in this, that, the other thing, and it takes forever, but I found a way that is like lightning fast, instant clean pennies.
Okay, I'm
You
ready.
ready to check it out?
Sure I am.
So here's what you do.
All right, put it in.
Well, here's what I'm going to do first. It's a mixture of vinegar, white vinegar. This is regular white vinegar. All right, and you just really need enough to cover the pennies. But I'm going to have a little bit of extra fun there and get it a little deeper. And then salt, just again.
Regular sea salt.
You can use sea salt, table salt. I tried both. They both seem to work fine. And there's, there's no perfect recipe here. This isn't like salt and vinegar chips, which have to be perfect because they're mighty delicious, by the way. And then I just mix it up. I probably give it a few seconds, literally. It doesn't need a lot of time.
It's such a good project for your kids.
Well,
I
did this with my kids, and they were like, oh my goodness. And then, honestly, it happens within about 10 to 20 seconds. You got these dark pennies, and I'll keep some out here for you to see. And you just change
That
pretty
is a
quickly.
chemistry lesson right there.
All right, it's like a little science class. You can see them.
Let me show. Come closer with
Can
that.
you see that?
Oh.
You can see those ones coming clean there, right?
Man. And they smell delicious.
It smells delicious, yeah. So you can see there. I'll
Very
take
good.
one out for you just to compare them to the dirty ones.
Okay.
And then just choosing your pattern.
Yeah.
So I was going to spell out your name, but I couldn't afford it. So we'll just stick with something simple here.
It's so funny. I'll take bills. That's okay.
I'll give you a couple tips on this because, again, I tried a whole bunch of different things. If you line the pennies up symmetrically, as I have done here, you actually have larger gaps, and it will take less pennies to fill a space. But in this pattern over here, these patterns, I've staggered them. So they actually are tighter, and this takes about 20% more pennies if you're going to do this pattern here. But once you have a pattern once you choose a pattern like this, what you need to do is epoxy them down to the floor. You can't just start walking on it or they'll go all over the place.
Right.
Now, epoxy, it comes in two parts, right? That's what makes it an epoxy. And basically, when you mix the two together, you have 15 to 20 minutes before it becomes a solid surface. This is just an example of a piece of wood without epoxy and with epoxy on it. So if you go to a restaurant, your tabletops or glossy floors are typically an epoxy finish of some sort. And again, you can walk on that. It's super, super durable.
So you don't have to redo it or anything once it's on?
Well, once it's done, what I actually did is I used like a Mac Tack, that sticky pad, and I peeled it up, and then I epoxied the bottom of the pennies and the floor, and then stuck them back down. That way there's no air underneath. And then when you do it the second round, you pour the epoxy over top, nothing moves, and there's no bubbles, because you don't want bubbles in there. You want it to be totally clear.
This was a huge project.
Honestly.
Like you have a house to build, and you're doing the map of Canada.
Yeah, well.
North America. And you're thinking,
I love maps. I'm a geography guy, so I was, a bit OCD. At night, I would be like, no, Florida isn't right yet. I got and I'm like, my other house is in Florida. It's got to be perfect.
That's perfect. Well, it's a job well done. Step-by-step instructions on Marilyn. That's it. Scott is my co-host for the full hour. We'll be back right after this.
We'll be back.
Coming up, Charles the Butler and Marilyn are testing Scott to see if his hosting skills are up to snuff.
You're not that big of a jerk. It's okay.
Don't miss it.
I'm trying not to laugh. Okay. But this is going to be a mess, okay? Here to show us how to be a good host when friends come over, Charles the Butler. So every once in a while we have some fun when you're not answering etiquette questions. We're just going to do role playing, right? So I love that. We're going to role play 4 different scenarios to brush up on our etiquette. In fact, Charles and I are invited to Scott McGilvery's place for dinner. Shall we go? Shall we go?
I'm so excited.
Okay, let's go.
Ready? Okay.
This is hot. Yes.
Double doors. Come on in. Yeah. Hello. Good to see you. Charles.
How are you?
Hey, That's so great. Thanks for having us. Come on
Hang up
in.
your coats.
Okay. Wait a minute. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
May I take your coat, Marilyn?
Yes, thank you.
That's why I brought him.
So there's a problem right there.
So, number one, it'd be really nice when he greets you if he offered to take your coat. You know, Scott.
Can I take your coat for you?
It's too late now. Okay, now what are we going to do?
And
We're
the
gonna-
next thing is,
What?
you know, wouldn't it be great if we had a glass or something in our hands to
Yeah,
drink?
yeah, I know.
You know?
Oh, well, have a seat.
Do you know what the problem is? He's been playing with pennies on the floor for about 6 months. And he's,
You know too much already.
I know. Oh my gosh, I pulled my own chair out. I pulled my own chair out. You know, I gotta tell you, I'm not, I want just the Canadian boys, but you American boys, you always pull the chair out and you always put it in. I'm telling you.
2 men and
What
not one
happened?
person helps you with your chair.
Yeah, okay, you're off my Christmas list. Gee, Scott, it sure smells.
So, well, but you know what?
Great.
Before we even
What?
get to the
What?
food,
Oh.
the first thing I want to talk about is just very briefly is you shouldn't just say to people just sit wherever you want because it sometimes becomes
okay.
awkward for people.
It's news to me. You're not that big of a jerk. It's okay.
When I saw this segment, I'm like, wow, I'm going to look great.
I want you to know, Scott and I are really good friends. This is a pleasure for me. Pleasure for me.
Thank goodness you already have a wife. So you know what? Because two things. Number one is people feel awkward. They don't know where to sit.
Yes.
So when you tell people,
Yeah.
Marilyn, why don't you sit here or sit there, it kind of helps. And number one, and you've thought about the conversation, who's going to flow, who gets along.
And if you're really familiar with the person, you kind of know what the kind of game plan is. But if you're
Exactly.
coming into a house that you don't know, you kind of have to up your
It
game
really
a little
helps.
bit.
Exactly.
What about putting a name tag where everyone should sit?
Well, that's very fancy. I mean, you know, but I love that actually.
Okay. My mom does that.
Does
We
she?
come over. Yeah, she's got it all figured out.
Well, how many people come over with their family gatherings? There's a lot, right?
Sometimes 25 people.
Yeah, that would
for-
be-
But that really helps then.
That helps when
exactly.
there's no fighting with the siblings.
Exactly.
Gee, it smells delicious.
Oh, yeah, of course.
What's
Well,
for dinner, Scott?
I'm working on something. It's delicious. You're gonna love it. It's a little complicated. I just put it in the oven. 2.5 hours. We'll be good.
Another 2.5 hours?
Yeah, I figure we could sit around and drink some of that.
Oh, well, I sure would like some of that.
Oh my God, it's so silly.
Wow,
Oh,
he's gonna pour the drink for me.
Yeah,
But you're putting in
I
the
was
wrong.
thirsty.
Wrong glass.
oh, there you go. Well,
Okay.
Marilyn, may I offer you some
Let's
wine?
dial it back just a little bit. Okay, I mean, listen, I don't have many people over for dinner because I don't cook that much, but the dinner should be ready within how many minutes or hours or whatever within
So
the time
what
that
a
people
great
arrive.
question. So
Yeah.
ideally 30, 45 minutes from when people arrive is when dinner should be.
Yeah.
You know, it just has a good guideline. But you know what, if it's going to be longer, there's nothing wrong with it being 2 hours or so. If, you know, we were invited at 5 o'clock, you said, listen guys, come for 5, we'll hang out, but dinner's not going to be till 7 or 7:30. That's okay as long as we know ahead of time.
Okay.
But
would it
getting
help
here,
if I told you Anthony Bourdain is here to cook it for us?
you know what? We're happy to wait. We're happy
But
to
you know,
wait.
Anthony just said, and we're going to talk to him shortly, in his book, you know, he's done many restaurants, he's been chef at
Yes.
many restaurants, but nothing is more intimidating than doing a smaller dinner party.
Absolutely.
You know, because you're trying to host with people, you're trying to put on a good meal, so.
And so I think that makes a really good point. So
Yeah.
I think about as a host
Yes.
what you're going to prepare.
Yeah.
You know, don't make something so complicated or so intensive at the last minute that, you know, if the 3 of us are here, you're in the kitchen for half an hour while we're waiting for you to prepare it.
Right.
So either the party goes in the kitchen
Kitchen?
with you,
Oh, yeah.
or prepare something that makes sense, that it's really easy, so that you can spend most of your time with us.
Okay, let's recap. So you come in the door, you're opening up the double doors. As you mentioned. You take the coat, you put the coat. Now, what if you? I want to go back on that one. What if you don't have a closet right there? Do you take it up to a bedroom? Do you put the coats laid on a bed or
so
something
what
like
On
that?
the floor of the office.
I can't cover up that penny map. Yeah.
No, so I think it's about thinking about it. And so I think that makes a really interesting point. And, you know, when you're having guests over, you know, start to think about from the very front door and kind of walk through yourself. Okay, where am I going to put the
Exactly,
coat?
exactly.
Where am I going to get a drink for everybody?
Right.
Where are people going to sit, or where do I want them to sit?
And in the wintertime, guys, shoes.
Exactly. You know, that whole boot thing and a chair to sit down, because some people need, you know,
To
to,
put the
take their
boots
boots on or off
That's
to
right.
be able, they need to be able to sit down. So
That's
that's a
right.
really great point.
And you know, a lot of women too talk about like they don't really want to carry their purses around. So is there a safe place to put their purses?
Exactly.
All those kind of things. So you walk through that, right?
Absolutely. Now, in terms of seating arrangement and serving the table, how do we?
So where seating's concerned, so first of all, you want to try to put people so that they're going to be comfortable for conversation, because it's ultimately about the conversation. But if you're going to be very formal, then so you're the host, so you would technically be in the center, and Marilyn, you would be to his right, because the guest of honor is always to his right, to the right of the host. So that's how, if it was a very formal event. But what's great about the way we...
Wait a minute, why the guest of honor?
But let me
or
tell you...
did I just assume that position?
But what's great about the way we are now, just informally, is Marilyn can be the guest of honor, and therefore she can be in the middle between the both of us. So you actually have this perfectly set right now.
Oh, good. Well,
Okay,
then,
that's great.
We should serve dinner then,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
assuming.
But wait a minute, before you do that, I'd like to have a drink. So there's that drink, but what about the water? Does he pour the water, or is that water already poured out?
So you know what? I love water already being poured at the table, just to make it easy. But you know, if you're going to have something, try not to make it so far on the table that people can't help themselves. Can help themselves.
Please help yourself.
Food, yeah. Well, that's kind of this party is a self-serve. I want to tell you, Governor. So let's talk about the food.
Cork in it.
Don't you apologize? Don't you? Let's talk about the food. Food.
Well, shall we get the food?
Shall we get
Absolutely.
the food?
It's in the kitchen.
Why don't I go get the food?
Okay.
It's perfect. I have a butler. I don't know if you know this.
Okay. So Marilyn's the guest of honor, so we're going to serve her first. So when the plate goes down, remember the meat is always towards the person.
I like that idea.
The meat is always towards the
you.
person.
At 6 o'clock.
I didn't know that.
6 o'clock.
Okay, now who set this table?
Not me.
Okay, because
it's wrong.
Okay.
So.
Okay, fork to the left.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know how I remember fork to the left?
What?
And I was taught this as a kid. There are 4 letters in the word left. There are 4 letters in the word fork. There are 5 letters in the word knife and 5 letters in the word right. So you just match them up.
Aww.
Isn't that great?
That's good.
I love that.
The serviette should be underneath.
Exactly.
The fork.
It's always on the left-hand side.
Right?
There we go.
And then the blade of the
Perfect.
knife should be
Pointing inwards.
and the
Perfect.
spoon.
What about
Now,
the spoon, though?
The spoon, it can be here, or technically this is going to be like for dessert or something. So technically I would be at the top of the plate setting.
okay.
Right.
Unless you need me to do this.
I don't know where those potatoes have been, so.
Okay. Serviette, everybody.
Okay.
Serviette goes
So,
out.
put it
Scott?
on the lap. Do you know how, Scott? That's good.
Yeah.
This is a learning curve moment.
Okay, so we have the napkin still folded in half. The part that opens up is going to be towards us.
That's what I meant.
Exactly. Do you remember why?
So that
Exactly. So
I'll
you
let
can
you
open
say.
it up. You can put the dirty thing on the inside, and then close it up again. So that
Not like my mother used to do. My mother used to do this.
Oh, yeah?
Am I right? Did your mom do that?
No,
Sorry, honey.
my mom
Sorry,
didn't do
honey.
that. It was one better.
Okay, are we done here?
so
No, wait.
Okay, we're not
There's
done.
dessert. There's dessert.
Wait, okay. So we're having this.
So
right?
we're having this.
It's delicious. The food,
Exactly.
and when I'm done, I put this.
okay,
like
so
this.
you put the knife and the fork
Oh,
together.
my spoon. Okay, knife and the fork, spoon together.
You guys are in for a real treat. Because I even took it out of the freezer.
Yay!
It went all out.
Yeah, give it 20 minutes. It should thaw.
But you know
Now,
what,
I'm going to say this. Anthony Bourdain is watching from the green room going, what the hell did I sign up for?
Exactly.
Almost done, Anthony. You can
you know what?
legitimize this.
There's nothing wrong with store-bought, but at
No.
least put it on a nice little tray or something,
for it.
and then some great whipped cream on the side.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. But anyway, thanks for having us over.
You're welcome.
This has been a lot of fun.
How about our toast to our host?
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
What are you going
of
to
course.
say?
Thank you for a wonderful evening.
We'll be right back, everybody. Thanks.
Up next, superstar chef Anthony Bourdain is here covering everything from how to make an easy ratatouille to what it's like sharing a meal with President Obama.
The Secret Service were not thrilled with the choice of venue, I can tell you. It was not an ideal situation.
Stay tuned.
Scott McGilvery's my co-host today. Scott McGilvery, everybody. This This is a very exciting time for our show right now. Joining us right now, Emmy Award-winning TV host and best-selling author, please welcome Chef Anthony Bourdain. Did you see what he just did? He waited till I sat down, and then he sat down.
No, he's such a gentleman.
Congratulations on all your success. I mean, that's pretty amazing. You must love what you do, but I love the fact that you give people help. And that's what makes it so good.
Don't know any other way.
I know, I guess not, So we're going to talk with your TV show, Parts Unknown. And when I watched, I saw one of the episodes that was really intriguing to me is when you were in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know, like, I was witnessing you eating something that was so hot, and I thought, how much your innards must be challenged every day.
That took me out of the game for like 3 or 4 days.
It did. Can you tell everybody what that was about?
It's something called Nashville hot chicken, and it's quite delicious if you eat the milder forms. But they always give you the option mild, regular, or extra hot. And Nashvillians don't eat the extra hot. They save that for the tourists and the idiots who go in and say, oh well, I could take it. No, you can't. I've eaten a lot of spicy food. I love spicy food. This was like a caustic chemical, and it hurt.
It hurt.
Yeah.
So you're down now for about 3 or 4 days.
I was not going 100%. Let's put it that way.
No. For the season premiere, you shared a meal with President Obama. Let's talk about that. That was really special.
It was a remarkable thing. About a year previously, the White House had reached out to us confidentially and said that the president was interested in having a meal or doing something, and we kept it very quiet within a very small group of people. CNN didn't know. The camera people didn't know. And we looked around for a location. And I thought, look, when we heard he was going to Vietnam, it sounded perfect to me. If you're going to, it's what we do. It's this kind of place that I love, a working class, typical Hanoi noodle joint. The Secret Service were not thrilled with the choice of venue, I can tell you. It was not an ideal situation for them, but President Obama was really, really cool and relaxed and fun to work with.
Typical dinner with the president, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
I asked him at one point, I said, do you ever miss being able to go out, just go to a saloon, sit down, have a beer, put Tom Waits in the jukebox and feel bad about the world? And he said, you ever miss that? And he looked at me and he goes, in about 6 months.
You know what? He is counting down the days, and I think Michelle is too. Like, get me out of here. Yeah. One of the things before, I know Scott's got a couple questions for you, but one thing that made me laugh so hard is that that Billy Joel was, you did not permit Billy Joel or Elton John music in your kitchen, no matter where you were. I think Billy Joel has now come into your life, and now you're friends. Am I right about that?
Yeah, we're friendly. We've had dinner and drinks a few times, and he knows that I had this Billy Joel rule that if you worked in my kitchen and I heard you visibly enjoying Billy Joel, you were fired. That's just a long-term festering problem that has to be nipped in the bud. I just can't work with you.
Yeah,
and so I think the second time we went out to dinner, he kept naming songs. So you don't like Uptown Girl? No, I hate that song. You don't like New York State of Mind? No, actually, I hate that one too.
Oh my God, was there one song, Anthony, you liked from Billy Joel? Okay, fine. But they became friends because of the differences. I know, he's very likable, I know.
So then the natural question is, where are you going to take Donald Trump for dinner?
Yeah, my God. Him and his next Secretary of Defense, Scott Baio, will be.
Listen, you might want to move to Canada. We're just saying that. Of all the places you've been, what has been your favorite?
Look, I love Vietnam. It's always reliably a good time. Italy makes me happy anytime I'm there. Those are two places I love.
Places.
Is there something like I love food as well. I'll eat just about anything. Is there something that you just don't like? Because I've seen the things I see you eat, and even going through your book, I'm like, he'll just about do anything.
I mean, look, as a chef, you learn to eat out of your comfort zone because you have to. If you don't like scallops, you still have to eat them because you need to know if they're good scallops and if you could serve them. Really, look, I don't like putrid fish, rotten meat.
Wow.
And yet
not crazy about licorice.
Question for you. I know it's been a while since you've written a book.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've actually put out a book since you've become a dad. Is that right?
I have, but not a cookbook. This is
Not a
cookbook.
So this
Yeah.
is very much a reflection of, my first cookbook was professional recipes. This is professional organizational skills brought to bear on the feeding of a 9-year-old girl and her friends.
Yeah. The recipes are fantastic in here. The pictures are kind of weird, I got to tell you.
Very weird.
But then I wouldn't expect anything different from you. I love the cover, and that was kind of controversial. Why was that controversial?
Well, I think it's a beautiful and outrageous work of art by Ralph Steadman, who did all of the Hunter Thompson Fear and Loathing books, and
Right.
my favorite artist. I didn't want this to look like an ordinary cookbook. I think I achieved that.
You did, big time.
But a couple of major chains in the States insisted we put a plain white wrapper around this thing, like porn, because this is too terrifying for their customers. They thought it needed to be
Oh, for
sealed
crying out
behind
loud.
plain white.
Okay, let's just talk about a couple of highlights that made me laugh so hard over the weekend. A sandwich is a beautiful thing, but let's talk about a club sandwich.
Right.
What? Go ahead.
Why
Go
do they
ahead.
have that third slice in the club sandwich? What good does this serve other than to totally demoralize you? Structurally, it's unsound. You have all these layers of good stuff, and then you have that middle slice that completely screws it up. You end up with the tomato and the bacon all over your shirt. Why is it there? Because it looks cool with the toothpick in it. But it is as a structural matter, it doesn't work.
Let's talk about, I love hamburgers. Let's talk about the structure of a hamburger. Hamburger is a good thing. It should be on a hamburger bun. Why?
Well, because it's the whole idea is to deliver a representative piece of every part of the burger: the cheese, the beef, and the bread in with hopefully one hand, two most.
Right.
Again, it shouldn't be sliding all over the place. And a burger is a perfect creation. It's when people start trying to improve on it, make it fancier. I mean, I like avocado and I like burgers. I don't want them together.
Yeah.
Does like aioli make your burger better? I think that's kind of wrong.
But you say the tomato, if you put a tomato on there, it better be at its ripest. Otherwise, it's
ripe and thin. A big thick
Thin,
slice
right.
is going to go squirting right out of there.
That's right. And not a fan of lettuce. I'm with you on that one, too.
Yeah, it doesn't really work. A cheese, look, I like blue cheese, but you'll notice when it's melted over the burger, it doesn't adhere.
Right.
Whereas even like that fake, that cheese-like substance,
Yeah.
that holds your burger together quite nicely.
And speaking of
like
cheese,
glue.
cheese is a great dessert.
It's my favorite dessert. There's no dessert chapter in this book because, to be honest, I'm not good at desserts. I'm terrible at pastries. Why should I lie and pretend here's my secret bun cake recipe? I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't do that stuff. And for me anyway, I'm not really a sweets guy.
Yeah.
For me, a perfect dessert is a big hunk of cheese and a glass of
It's
port.
like me. Cheese
Yeah.
is my favorite thing.
What's your favorite cheese?
I like Stilton, but anything runny and stanky is going to
It's
make
great.
me happy.
You run towards that, don't you? You like
I
that
do.
stuff. You
I
like
do.
that stuff. When we come back, Anthony's going to make ratatouille from his new cookbook, Appetites. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm here with my co-host Scott McGillivray and our special guest, Emmy Award-winning TV host and author, Chef Anthony Bourdain is with us today. He's got this great book.
Thank you.
By the way, you know my characters that I don't really cook that much, but this is such a great read. I really recommend this book because there's a lot of great things in here and a lot of funny stories. So we're going to make ratatouille, and ratatouille is...
Well, my daughter loves making this dish. It was the first thing she really expressed an interest in cooking. She said, Daddy, I want to make that dish that rat made in the movie.
Yeah, that was such a good movie that was,
So I
yeah.
said, oh, ratatouille. And she said, yes. So now the traditional Provençal version, they cook all of the vegetables together. This is a more, I don't know, I like to have each individual vegetable, each individual component cooked separately.
Oh, okay.
So that, you get, first of all, the end product is more
mushy.
colorful, it's a little crisper, and you can taste each individual element as well.
I thought we were keeping the middle because my
No.
kids don't like the skins, but you're actually, I
am I
made a
doing?
mistake
Am I
there.
doing-
You're a total disaster, to be honest.
Yeah, it would be really bad news if anybody lops off a piece of finger. And I would tell you, this was the first dish that I allowed my daughter to use a knife.
Well, that's
You know,
not
she loves cooking with me. She loves standing in the kitchen next to me. And up to that point, I'd sort of fobbed her off on making meatballs and breading cutlets and doing stuff like that. But she's like, Daddy, I want to cut. I want to cut. And you know, her at the time little tiny 7-year-old fingers were filling me with terror every time she picked up the knife.
Yeah.
But I showed her how to hold the knife correctly,
Which
turning
is?
your hand like this, tucking the tips under, keeping your thumb out of harm's way, and cutting like this. And she got pretty good at it over time.
This is
So
good.
what we do here
Yep, I'm watching.
is we cook everything separately.
So in
we
it's
do
like
the
onion first.
onions.
Yeah.
Red onion.
You can either choose to put garlic or not.
You have
A
to
little
have garlic.
thyme, fresh thyme, and you cook that there. And
You
here,
need all the eggplant there.
I think we'll do
Yours is nice
here.
eggplant. I didn't leave the skin on. I have to ask you.
Oh, there we go.
I have to ask you. One of the
And you
parts.
want to, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
what you want to do is you don't ever want to overload the pan, because if you put too much stuff in at one time, you won't get the kind of caramelization and browning that you'd like. And again, all of the vegetables separately.
We always like that one pot thing, but it doesn't always work, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't always work. So the one of the things I read in the book is that you do know how to make a perfect omelet, but the smell of breakfast does what to you?
Well, during various low points of my not particularly distinguished career in the restaurant business, the only people who would hire me were for brunch jobs, because no matter how messed up my life was at the time, I could always cook 300 omelets in a few hours. And so for me, the smell of brunch and breakfast was always the smell of shame and defeat and humiliation and the lowest, most desperate, broke times of my life.
Okay.
So I hated it. But now, of course, I'm the father of a little girl, and I throw pancake parties with a little pancake bar for her and her sleepovers.
What has happened to you? Where's Anthony?
Teddy bear pancakes. They're awesome.
So what
so
happens when
awesome.
you eat an omelet now? Do you find yourself like emotionally drawn to certain foods? I know
Yeah.
it's something you mentioned.
Look, I think any dish that takes you back to a happy time in your childhood.
Yeah.
You got bullied at school, came home crying in the rain, and your mom made you some canned tomato soup with some saltine crackers on top. That will always be the flavor of love and, feeling better. So actually there's a recipe in this cookbook that is deliberately modeled on, crappy canned tomato soup, because those are the flavors that I associate with, that's the soup I need.
Yeah. Once in a while you need
comfort
that.
food. It's comfort food. But your basic tuna, right? Salad. We talked about sandwiches, the pork chop sandwich, all sorts of things, and even mac and cheese. What is the secret to your mac and cheese? Where do we go wrong?
Keep it simple. Smearing it with a little mayonnaise before you put it onto a griddle or into the pan adds something quite special. Keep the cheese choices reasonable. If you want to use fancy cheese, that's great.
Okay.
But there's nothing wrong with sticking with the classics.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
don't overcomplicate. So many great things that you eat, so many great things in gastronomy are really about just taking good ingredients and not messing them up.
Right,
Not abusing
exactly.
them or overcomplicating them.
How come you're not fat? I mean,
Clean
honest.
living.
Yeah, that's
No,
it.
look, I train jujitsu every
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
I do actually go to the gym. I try not to, I'm not sitting at home. I'll have a big, rich meal, pasta and cheese, but I'm not sitting around with, a bag of Cheetos in front of the TV.
Right.
I move.
Yeah.
And what about in the airports and all the traveling? I mean, it's once you get on your episode, you're sitting down in a very specific place. That's one meal. You probably had to
Right.
get 30 or 40 meals to get to that spot. So how do you manage?
Look, I don't do a lot of eating. If you see me shoving food into my face and a lot of drinks, on camera, I'm not going back to the hotel and having another meal.
Right, that's it.
I organize my day around. If I know I'm having a huge Chinese banquet tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I'm not waking up and having a big stack of pancakes and sausage.
So you watch what you for sure. What's the one thing, and we're going to wrap up this recipe, Anthony, that you want us to know as we approach the kitchen? Because you've cooked for so many people for so long, and
Right.
I'd mentioned in another segment that sometimes when you're just cooking for a small group of people, that can be intimidating. But you're Anthony Bourdain.
Look, organize.
Okay.
Have reasonable expectations of yourself. What can I do ahead of time? Your guests want to see you at the table.
Right.
You want to be able to spend time with them, presumably. So, you make compromises on, how much do I want to do? How ambitious do I want to be in the kitchen? I don't want to be in there stirring risotto for 45 minutes while my guests are getting, angry drunk at the table waiting for me. So a lot of this is about, how to organize yourself and your mise en place, your station, your shopping, and your planning in such a way that you can actually have a good time at your own party.
I need you to make a promise. He's made a promise. That's why he's back. That's why he's back on the show. Will you come back and visit this show?
Sure thing.
Because I would love to see you again. Promise?
Will do. Promise.
Okay, we do. Okay, then. Chef Anthony Bourdain, everybody, thank you so much for coming in. All the rest of us are known about today. And he made ratatouille. You got to have it. We'll be right back. We're back with my co-host, Scott McGilvery, but now you're not my co-host, you're not my guest because you're going to answer questions, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, can you just relax,
Multiple
okay?
personalities.
Yeah, that's
I'll
right.
play
Mary
multiple
Lynn's
roles.
got a very important question for you. She's right over there. Go ahead.
Hi, Scott.
Hi.
Home is 30 years old. There's a lot of wood. I think you've seen some pictures, and we need to freshen, update our home because we're staying.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's going to be a renovation.
This
Yeah,
is
there's
it.
a lot of wood in there. You got the wainscoting, you got the cabinets, and it's, you know what, it's a multitude of, your furniture's got a lot of dark tones to it, the fireplace, the windows.
Yes.
So again, for a lot of people, they like this.
Yes. My husband loves it.
Yeah, but it is very masculine. It is very
Yes.
masculine, and you don't want to necessarily cover up all of it because it is such a high-end product to have in your home. But you definitely need to think about paint on at least the walls, because your walls have a bit of yellow in it, which is pulling into the tones of the wood as well. So it's just, there's nowhere to breathe in that space. I would say that if you added a crown molding in white, or you would replace the cabinet doors perhaps. Now, I know you don't want to spend a fortune to do this, but you can do something called refacing a kitchen, where if you don't want to just paint the cabinet doors, you can actually have new fronts put on, and they can cover the boxes, which is the inside of the cabinet, which is the expensive part. So you can still have the same cabinets inside, not spending a fortune, not redesigning the whole thing, but all new doors. Again, a lot of white would help with that wood in there. It would balance the masculinity. I'd leave the staircase because that's probably the most complicated of all. But you got to think about a white crown molding, or your wainscoting would be beautiful in white. I'm telling you right now.
So
Yeah.
you'd have to do the railing between the between the family room and the kitchen to paint that out
the
white.
wainscoting is, I can
Yeah.
see, is kind of in a few different spaces.
Right.
If you did that, because it wraps the room, it will really like soften it up, I guess you could say. And again, if you added a crown to the top, it would again carry that theme consistently throughout. But it is going to be about a balance, right? You don't want to get rid of all of it because it has some warmth to it. But you're going from a traditional to more of a transitional look. If you're willing to paint some of it in a creamier white tone, I wouldn't go bright white because that's too modern. So and then your wall color, I would, personally, I love the grays. I would consider some gray paint on your walls as well, and I think you would find that the house feels a lot fresher. It still has a lot of character, but it's not overwhelmingly masculine.
Right. Are you good with
Okay.
that?
Thank you.
You're
Yes.
welcome. Tasmin asked this question. I'm trying to turn my spare bedroom into a closet. I want to know how much weight my walls can hold. I've already had a set of shelving fall off. That's not a good sign. One side is a window, the other is a door into the bathroom.
Okay,
Yeah.
so one of the problems that people have when they're not sure what's behind their walls is they might buy a set of shelving that has odd spacing where the screws go, and they're screwing into drywall, which is not going to hold enough weight for kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, or closet organizers. So typically you need to start finding the studs, which are on 16-inch centers. And if if you're trying not to ruin your wall, usually if you find a light switch or a receptacle, it's going to be fastened to a stud on one side, or you can use a stud finder, which they're not bad. Those are fairly cheap. They work fairly well. And then once you find a stud, you can fasten them 16-inch on centers. There's also closet organizers that come with a rail system, which means you can put the whole rail up, and that goes into the studs, and you can place your cabinets wherever you'd like on that rail. But do not fasten anything that's meant to carry a load into just drywall, because it will fall down, it'll hit the ground, and it could be dangerous as
Could
well.
be very
if it's full
dangerous,
of dishes. Yeah.
Hey, thoroughly enjoyed our second time this season, you co-hosting my show. Will there
Yeah.
be a third?
I don't.
Do you
You know
have
what? I'll
enough
think
time?
about it. I'll think about it. You know what? Maybe I'll let you co-host on the third go around.
Okay.
And, no.
My very good friend Scott McGilvery, so nice to see you. Congratulations on your home.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.